know obviously defense was a big thing in the preseason, but Dallas shot 59% from the field, 52% from three. Just what did you see that you guys could do better going into?
We got to be more disciplined. It's the difference in their uncontested looks from three and our contested looks from three. Sometimes we were over rotated when we didn't need to be. Sometimes we had coverage breakdowns. Unnecessarily. We are hanging around, not going to the offensive boards, but not getting back in transition defense. We gave up a lot in transition. All correctable things. Fouling shooters, like fouling jump shooters, all detail-oriented things. And it's just an area that we got to continue to grow. We're not going to be able to outscore teams in this league.
What's up, Fever Nation? I had an epiphany a moment ago, and I was thinking, are teams playing the Fever harder than they play other teams just because of Caitlin Clark? I was wondering about that because I'm looking at the Wings' performance against the Fever, where they put up over 100 points. And I'm looking at the Wings' performance against the Dream, where the Dream is being touted as one of the, let's say a playoff team. Okay. But they only put up 72 points. Now, how do you go? Now, they had, Saturday? Saturday. They played Saturday last. So how do you go from 107 points to 72 points? Well, first question I asked myself, was the game over officiated? Because if you look at the Wings and the Dream game, there were a total of, where are the fouls? There we go. 18 for the Dream. Fouls now. This is just fouls. 17 for the Wings. So that's a total of 35 fouls. Now you peek over here to the Fever game versus the Wings. There were a total of 53 fouls called during that game. 53 fouls. That's 28 for the Wings and 25 for the Fever. Again, it was the first game of the season. So were officials adjusting? Because you can see, if y'all remember with Isaiah James, all those flops she was doing, and apparently she's really good at attracting those calls. But you remember late in the game, the officials did a course correct. And they stopped giving her those calls. Now they could have busted her with a block, flopping like that. See, when I'm an official, I bust players. When I see that, I bust players with a block. Sometimes if the player falls away before contact and I clearly see it, I may not call anything. That'll be a play on. But if he looks like he's flopping, I may bust him with a block. But look at this, 53 fouls called in the first game of the season. Same team, Wings. Now, again, back to my first question. Did the Wings play their level best game against the Fever? Let's look at the shooting percentages. The shooting percentages for the Wings was 59% from the field, 52% from 3 points. 59% from the field, 52% from 3-pointers. Now, let's go over here to the Dream game. They shot 38% from the field, 15% from 3-pointers. Now, to me, with the amount of rest in between games, you can't say that they were tired or they didn't have their legs. And again, you could throw that in there. I believe that teams, now I'm going to kind of hang this on the officials a little bit. I ain't going to say, let me recant. I don't want to say the game was over officiated. The officials were adjusting, going from a long off season. Even with the preseason, you kind of trying to get into the groove, but it's not the same as refereeing a 4-quarter game where everybody's going all out and you're trying to make the best calls you can make. So a little bit on the officials, a little bit on the teams. Now, were the Wings locked in for the Fever because of Caitlin Clark? The reason why I'm saying this, it looks like the Indiana Fever gets teams' best effort. And even with that, the Fever still could have won. So when I hear their head coach, Stephanie White, say, we are not going to outscore teams, that's ridiculous. Stephanie, you did outscore teams. The only problem is the points were left off the board. What do you mean by that? I'm glad you asked. Well, if you remember, the Fever missed 4 free throws against the Wings. I'm not trying to go back. This is not about, rehashing the past. I'm just trying to make a point out of the way teams play the Fever. And then when they play other teams, they act like they don't even know what a basketball game is. Because if you look at this point production, it's like, well, what happened to the Wings? Where was their motivation that they had versus the Fever at Saturday? Where did all that motivation go? I think I don't want to call it Clark derangement syndrome, but there is something there, because the Fever almost have to play their best game to win when they play. Unless this team is just not up to par, they have to literally play their best game. So that's all I have for you right now. I didn't want to drag this out too long, but I just wanted to point this out to look forward. It's something I want you to pay attention to. And as we watch this game tonight versus the Sparks, I want you all to start keeping your own personal stat line on missed layups. Missed layups and blown catches. When CC dimes a player and the ball goes through their hands, lack of focus or whatever you want to call it, moving before you catch the pass, missed layup. Now, you can't count that as a missed layups, but let's just count that as a blown pass. When the ball hits you in the breadbasket or in the hands, you're supposed to catch it. You're supposed to catch it. You remember that layup Hines Allen smoked right at the basket. I'm not gonna go there right now, but if that happens again, Fever Nation, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. And then when Caitlin Clark gives up a dime, you're in scoring position. She puts you in scoring position where all you have to do is finish. That's how good she is. You have our coach talking about make the hockey pass, where you dish it to somebody and somebody makes the final play. Stephanie, just play the background on this video and just watch. Let your other head coaches coach. You just sit there and make sure the lugs don't come off the wheels. When all 5 lugs come off the wheels, then stand up, Stephanie. Other than that, just sit there and pretend like you like what you see. That's all I have for you right now, Fever Nation. You all have a good evening. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm out.
We're not going to be able to outscore teams in this league.